Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. So instead of the usual wildcard video, I've decided to do free hit video this week because a lot of people find it a game week that is popular for using your free hit. So with that in mind, I've done two teams, one with Salah and one without Salah, just to see how you could spread the funds around. And I've got charts for all of them as well. So it might be a bit of a long video, but please stick with it. Feel free to flick through and pause the video at any point to look at the own charts and make your own decisions. I am recording this video before Sunday's games have kicked off. So any injuries, I will put some alternative players in the comments. But please do consider subscribing, liking the video. The support has been amazing and I really am grateful for it. So let's take a look and see why might you free hit in game week 13. Well, first of all, there's quite a lot of injuries knocking about, quite a few players that are flagged, and maybe you just want a bit of extra time to either think about your transfers or just to allow those players to heal. Maybe they've not got big injuries, maybe in a couple of weeks they might be fine, and it just gives you that bit of a buffer that you can keep them in your overall squad without using free transfers, but you can attack the short term. Another reason might be fixture clashes. So this week we've got, like, for example, Arsenal versus Chelsea. Some of you might own six players between those two teams. If you want to avoid that game, you can totally play your free hit this week and just give yourself that flexibility. Another reason might be players with great fixtures that you wouldn't own any other time. So there might be some players from teams like this, like Aston Villa, Brentford, Liverpool, Man City, that you don't necessarily want to own a load of Aston Villa and Brentford players, but they have great home fixtures. So you can get them in for this week, and then you don't need to worry about their long-term fixtures for the rest of the season. So let's take a look at the first team here, and we're going to start in goal with Kelleher. So those four teams we just looked at, they're going to be my focus for this video. I think Kelleher is a great goalkeeper this week, and I've put the future fixtures up there. I don't think you really need to worry too much. This is just about a single game week. Who have they got for this game week? Well, Brentford have Burnley at home. Burnley, not a great attack. Therefore, it gives Brentford the best chance of a clean sheet. Now, I am going to use some data and charts here, but it's within a balance because we'd normally use the charts for longer amounts of time, so longer game weeks. Whereas this, a player with maybe not great data with an awesome fixture this week could really stand out. So that's sort of the situation for Kelleher here because he is just in and amongst it for goalkeepers for the season, right? This is saves per game versus expected goals conceded per 90, and he's not an Areola, he's not a Sells, a Dubravka, a Perry, someone who is conceding either a lot of goals or having to make too many saves to worry about a clean sheet. He is just a middle keeper with a great fixture, and I think that really works out. You could look at getting in a Donnarumma instead, someone like that with a great fixture. But the reason I've gone for Kelleher is because if you got Donnarumma in, you might want three outfield Man City players. And if you get him in, you can only have two, whereas you're less likely to want three outfield Brentford players, say, in this game week. So into defence, and I've highlighted Matty Cash here. Now, because this team does have Salah in it, we've had to go a little bit cheaper in defence than we might do otherwise. Wolves at home is a great fixture for Villa. I think there's clean sheet potential there, and Matty Cash, it's not completely impossible that he gets an attacking return. The same for Coyote from Brentford. Doubling up on the Brentford defence might be a little bit risky. I think, with playing Burnley, I think I would probably rather have a double Brentford defence than, say, a double Aston Villa defence with this setup. And because Coyote is so cheap, it means having Salah in the team as well. It's someone that you can afford. Now, when we take a look at the defensive charts, I really just wanted to focus on reliable players. So all four of the starting defenders go here, and we've got minutes total on the left versus defensive contributions per start going underneath. And the reason I wanted to focus on minutes is because for a single game week and you're playing your free hit, you need to know that your players are going to play, right? You don't want them to find out that they're on the bench because you've just got them for 1 week. So therefore, all four of these players are ranking really highly for minutes so far. And, Coyote and Matty Cash, you've got to consider their price. they're really cheap. So I think not only do they enable you to get in more expensive players elsewhere, but I think they also offer a bit of an attacking threat. Now, they definitely don't offer defensive contributions. They could get defensive contributions, but I wouldn't get them in for that reason. Kanate and Van Dijk can both offer that with some attacking threat from corners as well. But really, anyone who's in this circle here, I think you can get in on a free hit team and be pretty confident that they're going to start and play, unless, of course, they've got an injury in between. So into midfield, and we've highlighted Salah here. Now, I know some people will want to get Salah in, some people won't want him in, which is why I've done two separate teams in this video. I think West Ham away is a great fixture. The question is the price. So it really stops you from getting in, a few other premium players. But if there's not many great fixtures that you want and you kind of don't rely on the rest of the Liverpool attack, I think Salah could get you some good points this week. And also, you're not having to buy him in permanently. So maybe you miss having Salah in your team. You want one final chance for him and you get him in with West Ham away. I think that's a great fixture. I have also gone for Foden and Cherky from Man City here. Now, I think Foden is a really good pick. I think he's more likely to play than Cherky. I did want to get in Doku instead from Man City, but I have capped these at 100 million exactly. So I think if you can afford, more better options, I totally would go for Doku ahead of Cherky, but I think he's still a good effort. I've also rounded out the midfield with Rodgers. I personally have got him into my own team, and I think this Wolves game is just a great one for someone like a Morgan Rodgers, and we know that he's going to play. When we take a look at this midfielder chart of goal contribution versus minutes per point, it really just focuses on how efficient these midfielders are. The lower down the minutes per points they are, the more, the less time it takes them to get an FPL point, and the higher they are on the goal contributions, the more attacking they've been so far. Now, this is just for the last 6 game weeks because I think from an attacking point of view, it just shows form a little bit better than if I was just to give full season's worth of data. Now we can see that someone like a Cherky is here and he's doing really well for minutes per point. I think if he starts for Man City, he could score really well this game week. Now, obviously, there's a risk that he doesn't start, and you kind of have to just, you know, grin and bear it if that's the case. But if you wanted to take a risk, I think he's a really underrated pick for a single game week. The rest of the midfielders are here, and you might be looking at this and saying, well, they're way down the chart, or at least further down the chart than other midfielders. For me, I think you want to just, again, focus on the fixtures. These are players who have attacking contributions in the last 6 game weeks. They're not completely out of it, but I think you kind of just isolate this single game week. If I was looking at, the next few weeks, I might say, well, these players, they're just not scoring very well, but they are the sort of players that can get you returns at any time. When we take a look at the strikers, unfortunately, there's not a ton of options, and there hasn't been for a while. You might already own Thiago and Haaland, in which case, I think you can still free hit. I think if you're making like 7, 8 changes to your FPL team, I think a free hit is viable in that occasion. You don't need to change your whole team. I think sometimes people look at a free hit and say, I need to want to change all 15 of my players before I free hit. And that's just very unlikely to happen when there's no double or blank game weeks. So Thiago and Haaland are the picks, and we can just see for the last 6 game weeks, they are just better than everyone else. I would say Thiago is maybe even better than Mateta. Mateta is getting more chances, slightly more chances, but Thiago is being more clinical. And then Haaland is obviously just overperforming his expected goals massively. So overall, this team rating is only 89%. And again, I think part of that factors in because it's Salah and we've had to go really thin on the bench and we've had to look at, sort of trimming down the defense as well. But it is capped at 100 million. So I could have spent 103 million and got a higher rating. So I think within the price range, I think that's a good rating. Obviously, if you can afford more players, you could, or better players, you can pause the video and take a look at the chart. I think the strengths for me are It's a lot of players you don't have. I would think a lot of people don't own Salah, Foden, Rodgers, and Cherky right now. And I think you could possibly get them in for one game week and then sell, and then you don't have them for the rest. I think, as well as avoiding the fixture clashes we spoke about earlier, for me, the weaknesses are the bench, but it's for a single game week. So it doesn't really matter. If you're free hitting, you can, if you find out that someone maybe is injured just before the deadline, you can just unlimited free transfers that week, sell them and get in someone else. You're very unlikely to need your bench. You're definitely not going to need your second and third bench options for your free hit. So I think in terms of a weakness, it's not really the worst weakness in the world. Is Haaland and Salah too much money? Now, I think it probably is looking at this. I think you can kind of recreate Salah's potential points with other attacking Liverpool players, which is what leads me on to Team 2. So, Team 2 has no Salah, and I've tried to invest the money wisely elsewhere, and hopefully, you'll see a bit of a difference in terms of how the money has been spread around. I'm going to start with Martinez in goal. I think for a single game week, he has just great potential. We know he can save penalties. He's not that likely to get a penalty, but then have a penalty against him. But then it could happen to any goalkeeper on any given game week. He has also got clean sheets and he is making saves. He's averaging more than two saves per game. So that save point is there. When we take a look at the chart for the last six game weeks for goalkeepers, we can see that Martinez is ranking really well on efficiency. So minutes per point, he is actually the best goalkeeper there. Now, part of that is penalty save that he made recently, but the rest of it is quite legit points, consistent points. It's not like that's the only thing that he's done in the last few weeks. And as we said, he's making the saves per game that can give him that potential for that extra point as well. So I think he just offers so many routes to points. You look at a Raya, or at least for a goalkeeper, Raya, he just keeps clean sheets. He's never going to get a save point. And in a single game week, Martinez offers a lot more. Now, the other goalkeepers from the very start of the video, so if we looked at Liverpool, Brentford, and Man City, as well as Aston Villa for teams to target players from, they're currently ranking here. Now, Mamadashvili, I think Allison could be back. He might not be back. I would just stay away from that. Kelleher, we've already looked at, and Donnarumma, we've talked about as well. So I think if you can afford a Donnarumma and you don't want three Man City players, I think go for it. But I just think Man City, just for a single game week, they give you a lot of better attacking options. So into defence, and I've kind of revamped the defence completely. I've swapped out Coyote for Collins, managed to upgrade there, and then I've also brought in Munoz, and then I've brought in O'Reilly. So there's no Canate in this defence, and the reason is because I've gone for two Liverpool attackers. I do think O'Reilly is a great pick right now. He's a bit riskier than someone like a Matthias Nunes. If you watched my video from Thursday where we talked about Gabriel replacements, Matthias Nunes does seem to be more nailed at right back. O'Reilly does have that risk where Nori could come in or Gvardiol could play there. But he is playing really well right now, and he's averaging 8 defensive contributions per game. That's a lot. That's really close for to getting those 2 points, especially for an attacking Man City defender. So for me, he is a great option for Leeds at home. I still decided to keep Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk is just the best Liverpool defender right now. And the same for Munoz. He's the best Crystal Palace defender right now. Now, although Crystal Palace have Man United at home, they maybe have some, midweek games that's making them tired. I think Munoz is still a good pick, and I think Man United could leave space with their wing backs down that side where he could really exploit it. So let's take a look at the chart here. And for defenders for the last six game weeks, expected goal involvements versus expected goals conceded. So how are you looking, or how are the defenders looking in comparison for attack versus defense? Well, O'Reilly features here. Not expected to concede many goals, expected to score a lot or be involved in a lot in the last 6 weeks. Really, you're looking for someone from the top left of this chart, and he really does fit the bill in terms of recent form. We can see the other defenders are kind of spread out here. Now, Virgil van Dijk is expected to have conceded quite a lot of goals in the last six game weeks. Liverpool's defence isn't great, but they have good fixtures. And remember, this is just a one-off week. So the form doesn't really matter for the next few weeks. This is just a single game week. Collins and Munoz are also performing quite well. Munoz expected to be involved in quite a lot of goals, and Collins last year did get a ton of assists from set pieces. I think if he is the sort of player that can give you a big points haul all of a sudden. So into midfield, and I've just gone for three-man midfield here. Gakpo, Rogers, and Foden. So I've kept Rogers and Foden in, taken out Cherky. I've got Jack Grealish on the bench, and obviously there's no Salah. Now people are a bit cooling off on Gakpo. I am really into Gakpo right now as an FPL pick. I think he's someone that can really do well in the next few weeks. I think as a free hit team for West Ham away, whilst he's not started the last two, when we take a look at this chart shows us goal involvements versus bonus point scores for midfielders for the last 6 weeks. So when we talk about bonus point scores, it's not the actual bonus points that they get, the 1, 2, or 3 points that a player gets at the end of each game. These are the accumulation of the positive actions in a game. So essentially, the players with the best bonus point scores end up with bonus points. So these are the midfielders for the last 6 weeks. And we can see that Gakpo is doing really well for bonus point scores. And when you think that he's been benched recently as well, he's getting these accumulations in less time. And the fact that he is getting a lot more for the same goal contributions as other players who have scored two means that his contributions are more important to the team and he's more likely to get bonus. In fact, he's also accumulated more bonus point scores than any of the other midfielders who have got 3, 4, or 5 goal contributions in the last 6 weeks, which means that whilst they're scoring points, they're less important for the team. There's only Semenya who's really got more bonus point scores than Gakpo. I think anyone who is from this rectangle here, if you're looking for a single game week, or maybe you're just here to look for some free transfers for the next few weeks, I think anyone from here is good. They're players who are getting good goal contributions and they're also contributing to their bonus point scores as well. Down here, we can see Grealish and Foden. Now, I don't think that I would start Grealish in this team. He's kind of just a first bench option. Maybe you want to go for a really cheaper bench and upgrade elsewhere even more, in which case I would sell Grealish. He would be the player that I would bench in this team. But I also think someone like a Rodgers and a Foden, they are able to get you attacking returns in any given game week, and it's not impossible for them to get bonus either. When we take a look at the forwards, I've added in Ekitike here because Isak is out at the moment, and I don't expect him to be back for game week 13, at least not fully. I think Ekitike's minutes are secure. He had a really good start to the season. We know he can score points. I just think West Ham away, would you rather have Salah or Gakpo and Ekitike? And I think I'd rather have Gakpo and Ekitike just to kind of hedge my bets with Liverpool players. I think Thiago and Haaland, they're obviously still in this team. When we take a look at the chart, we can see that anyone to the right of this line is just really secure for minutes. So this is for forwards. I wanted to show a bit of a different forwards chart to the last team just to add a bit of variety. But I think anyone to the right of this line is just nailed on for minutes. We can see that Haaland and Thiago, there's just no reason to not have them in your team for game week 13, especially on a free hit. Now, Ekitike is down here, not guaranteed for minutes, not getting any goal contributions. Why would you get him in? Well, I just think it's one of those risky picks that, like we said at the start, you may be free hit to get in players that you don't want long term. And I think Ekitike is the sort of risk that can pay off. You don't want a team full of risks because you still need some guaranteed points. But that's why we've got Haaland and Thiago in this team. So I think it's something worth considering as a third forward in just a one-off game week. I'm not saying get him in for ages to consider an Ekitike. So overall, this team rating is 92%. And again, I've kept it within 100 million. It's 100 million exactly at time of recording. 92 rated isn't the be all and end all. It's not amazing rating, but I think it's good enough. And again, the team rating also kind of takes into account, future game weeks as well sometimes. This is just a one-off game week. The strengths for me is it's a lot more well-rounded than the Salah team. I think obviously you can invest money elsewhere, and it also offers more routes to points. You've got a lot more of threat, I think, in defensively for attacking contributions. And I think also it gives you some good striking options in Ekitike and Gakpo rather than putting all your eggs in the Salah basket. The weaknesses are, of course, there's no Salah. So maybe if you did want Salah and you think he's going to score and he might get a penalty against West Ham, you could go for him. I've tried to give you that team option. There could also be too many triple ups. So we've focused on, the Villa, Liverpool, Brentford, and Man City games this week. And I think that's what you have to do on a free hit. But for me, if you're not too keen on, putting all your eggs in those baskets and you maybe want to disperse around a little bit just to hedge your bets, maybe this isn't the team for you. So let me know what you think. Let me know what team you would go for. And also just let me know, are you free hitting as well? Or when are you planning on free hitting? Just to note as well, I am away for a few days now. So the review video and preview for Game Week 13 and how the mini leagues, that'll probably be out Wednesday or Thursday this week. Just so in case you're expecting a video on Tuesday. Thank you for all the support and for listening. Hopefully, this video has been interesting and not been too long as well. And I will see you in the next one.